Chimpanzees are genetically adapted to local habitats and infections such as malaria. Date, January 9th, 2025. Source, University College London. Summary: chimpanzees bear genetic adaptations that help them thrive in their different forest and savanna habitats, some of which may protect against malaria, according to a study by an international team. Full story. Chimpanzees bear genetic adaptations that help them thrive in their different forest and savanna habitats, some of which may protect against malaria, according to a study done by an international team led by UCL researchers. Chimpanzees are our closest living relatives, sharing over 98% of their DNA with humans, and the scientists say that their findings, published in Science, can not only teach us about our own evolutionary history, but also about the biology of malaria infections in humans. Chimpanzees are endangered due to habitat destruction, poaching, and infectious disease. The results of this study could also inform conservation, as they suggest that climate and land uses will likely have different impacts on different chimpanzee groups. Lead author, Professor Ada Andreas, UCL Genetics Institute, said, quote, "There are just a few 100,000 chimpanzees alive, but they are found across very different landscapes from East Africa to the far west of the continent, including dense tropical rainforest and open areas of woodland and savanna. This makes them quite unique because, except for humans, all other apes live in exclusively forest." Here we have shown that besides acquiring behavioral adaptations, different chimpanzee populations have evolved genetic differences to survive in their different local habitats. As chimpanzees are facing threats across their range, including environment changes to the climate and displacement due to human pressures, it is important that their genetic diversity is conserved to maintain their resilience and ensure long-term survival of this intelligent and fascinating species. End quote. To study genetic adaptation, the international team of researchers from the institutions across Africa, Europe, and North America needed to obtain DNA from the endangered and highly elusive wild chimpanzees without disturbing them. To do so, they used fecal samples that were collected as a part of the Pan-African program, the Cultured Chimpanzee. State-of-the-art laboratory and computational methods enabled the scientists to study the chimpanzee DNA in these samples and perform the largest study of local adaptation in wild endangered mammals to date. The researchers analyzed the genomes, the protein coding part of a genome, from 828 wild chimpanzees. 388 of them were included in the final analysis, representing 30 different populations of chimpanzees across the geographic and ecological range of forest chimpanzee subspecies. The scientists compared the genetic information to data about the local environment each chimpanzee population lives in, identifying genetic variants that stand out as being much more frequent in certain regions than others, and that likely confer a benefit to those carrying the genetic variant in particular habitats. The scientists found evidence of genetic adaptation in genes related to certain pathogens, disease-causing microorganisms, among the chimpanzees living in the forest, where there is a high concentration of pathogens, with the strongest evidence found in genes linked to malaria. This includes two genes that are known to be responsible for adaptation and resistance to malaria in humans, GYPA and HBB, the latter being responsible for sickle cell anemia in humans. The findings suggest that malaria is likely a significant disease for wild forest chimpanzees. Adaptation to the malaria parasite has happened independently through changes in the very same genes in chimpanzees and humans. First author, Dr. Harrison Ostrich, UCL Genetics Institute, said, quote, "The close genetic similarities between the great apes have resulted in diseases jumping from apes to humans, such as with malaria and HIV/AIDS. So studying wild chimpanzees is extremely useful to understand these and other shared infectious diseases in humans and could help develop new treatments or vaccines." Finding evidence of adaptation to malaria in chimpanzees linked to the same genes that affect malaria resistance in humans is striking from an evolutionary point of view, as it suggests there are maybe limited ways that we can evolve resistance to the malaria parasite. End quote. The study suggests that chimpanzees have also adapted to their savanna habitats, which have higher temperatures, lower rainfall, and less food availability. This shows that studying savanna chimpanzees may shed light on how human ancestors adapted to similar habitats millions of years ago when they first moved from the African forest to the savanna. Co-author and PANAF co-director Dr. Hilmar Kuhl, Sickenberg Museum of Natural History, Germany, commented, quote, "This groundbreaking study on chimpanzee local adaptations could not be accomplished without the extraordinary collaboration of an international team of scientists who worked tirelessly to collect non-invasive data, including fecal samples from countries across the chimpanzee range." End quote. Co-author and PANAF co-director Dr. Mimi Arangelovic, Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology, Germany, added, quote, "We further welcome everyone interested in our research to contribute as community scientists at chimpanzee.org, where one can help annotate videos collected alongside the genetic samples from across the chimpanzee range." End quote. End of article.